Hello and welcome into another edition of State of the Sun Devils alongside Jesse Morrison and Damon Allred. I'm Jeremy Schnell. ASU taking on Texas Tech this week. But first, we got some unfortunate news for the Arizona State Sun Devils. Cole Martin is out for the season, that being reported this afternoon, this being Wednesday, if you're listening at a different date. So Cole Martin, slot cornerback, right, Damon?
Yeah, nickel
cornerback. Very thin in terms of depth at that position. What are you expecting ASU to do moving forward with that position?
So it's especially unfortunate that Cole Martin is out for the season because prior to the season starting, Mason Williams retired from football, and he was in position to battle for a lot of those nickel snaps. Shamari Simmons has obviously been incredible for this defense as the starting nickel. It's just that depth behind him now has suddenly taken two really significant hits with Mason retiring and Cole being out for the year. They're going to be looking to Kyan McDonald to be manning that backup nickel spot now. Kenny and defensive coordinator Brian Ward both raved about Kyan today, talked about him being a really high IQ football player and having a knack for the ball. So I think that they're in a good position, certainly better than what they would have been in a year ago if they were to lose two of their nickels. But yeah, it's still a tough blow for sure.
And this is especially tough, Jesse, because specifically Cole Martin, he's a hometown kid. He's from the area, transferred here from Oregon in order to play closer to home, and now he's out for the season.
Yeah, I was really excited about him coming to the Valley because of he went to Basha. He played all 14 games for a really good Oregon team last year, so I was very, very excited about him coming here, and it's unfortunate that he has his season end. Hopefully, they'll give him a medical waiver since he only played in 3 games, and this year won't count toward any of his eligibility.
And then, obviously, I think that for not only the nickel position, but behind Simmons, you'll want to see some of the outside corners take some snaps inside as well, probably, Damon, right?
I don't know if I want to see Javen Robinson or Keith Abney come away from their spots on the outside, but some of the other corners behind them, like a Rodney Bimage, you might see more of him now that there's more spots open in the depth chart. But as far as Javen and Keith, I'd expect them to man those spots. And Ward talks a lot about guys doing their 1/11th as far as like just do your job type of stuff. And I think that with those two spots totally nailed down and you don't have to worry about the outside receivers, sure, it's a pretty good spot to be in.
Biggest thing here, the biggest issue with this is that it just hurts the depth. With Mason Williams' retirement, we saw depth be an issue last year for ASU, and now it's coming into play again in a little bit of a smaller scale. But there is a concern in depth, and at a position that you really don't want any concerns with depth. So it's just something to look out for. Hopefully the rest of the guys can stay healthy, but you never know. It's football.
Now let's get to the game at hand. ASU's taking on Texas Tech. Let's start with how ASU got to this spot. They're 3-0. Are they starting to change your expectations on what you see the season turning out to be, Damon?
Yeah, I'd think so. Suddenly a month ago we were talking about like 6 or 7 wins being a really good season. Now 6 or 7 wins feels like the floor. So you're suddenly playing with a lot of house money too, I think, just because of the expectations that they're raising. So I think that if you can get to 9 wins suddenly, that's an incredible season.
That would be something.
And all you have to do from this point is like 6-3. Is that the math?
That's how that works.
Yeah.
Yes. 6.
That seems doable.
3
for
plus
this
6
team.
is 9. Yeah. Jesse, you had them 4-5 in the conference. Damon and I had them 5-4. Does this change anything that they started out 3-0?
It doesn't for me, just because I don't think that Mississippi State and Wyoming are very good. I do like the way that ASU has played. I like the way they played against Texas State. I think they've shown that they're a good football team. But I think 3, 4, 5 wins in the conference is probably what we should expect, which is still really good. That would be making a bowl game. I think the goal is to make a bowl. That rhymes. So, yeah, I think that that's the goal. And I think that the expectation for me has kind of gone from I think they're going to make a bowl to they will make a bowl.
You look at ASU now, they finally got AP votes the first time in the Kenny Dillingham era. Obviously, this is his second season. That's pretty incredible considering, the 3 wins that they got last season, the 3 wins that they got the year before. Projected to be in the Sun Bowl or Independence Bowl. Again, like you said, Damon, they have to go 3-6 the rest of the way to get bowl eligibility. What I'll say about this is I'm interested to see, some of the gaps that we've seen. 2 weeks ago against Mississippi State, it was they didn't finish the game so well. And then last week against Texas State, they finished the game pretty well, right? And they, a little bit of a come from behind victory, if you will. So I think every question that we've had the past 3 or so weeks, it's been answered. Now, what are we going to see against Texas Tech? Let's get into that because Damon, you watched the full game. Jesse and I watched a lot of the tape on Texas Tech. I
watched a good amount of the Texas Tech North Texas game on Saturday as well. So
it's a long. It was a big score. Texas Tech won by, was it 50 points? It was 50. Let's see.
I think 66-21.
Yeah,
so.
66-21 was the score. They gave up 51 points to Abilene Christian. Their defense isn't very good, basically, is what I'm trying to say.
Nope.
They gave up 21 points to North Texas. Most of those points were when the backups were in the game. I will say that. From what you've seen on tape, Damon, what sticks out to you about Texas Tech?
Some areas to exploit stick out, like their defensive line does not seem to be all that tough, especially when you're considering what it has to go up against in the ASU run game with Scadaboo and that offensive line looking like absolute monsters so far this year. I think that there's an issue with how Tech likes to play their defensive linemen, too. We've talked about this a little bit, where sometimes they drop 7 or 8 guys into coverage, and that's just not something that can work against ASU. I think if ASU starts to see that, you're going to see Sam check out into a lot of run plays if they're showing only 3 light fronts. And
that, we don't think about this as much because we see it a lot in the NFL, and now we're going to see it in college. Pre-snap, the coaches will be able to see the substitutions and see what players and what personnel is on the field for Texas Tech, and they'll be able to get the correct plays and see what Texas Tech has put on film. And really, I think they're going to be able to run the ball pretty well against this team.
And get those calls into Sam well before the play starts, too. It's really such an added benefit with the helmet communications.
Texas Tech, to me, is an extremely high-powered offense, a great rushing attack with Taj Brooks. He looked awesome last week against North Texas. But defensively, woof. Like, they look bad on defense. And especially tackling, they just do not look like a good tackling team. There was a long run, I believe it went for a touchdown in the Washington State game by their quarterback, John Mateer, where he probably should have been down at the 20. Go back and watch that. There's a condensed game on YouTube. Look it up. And toward the end, it's like, I think maybe the last highlight that they show in this condensed game of him just dragging like 2 or 3 Texas Tech defenders to the end zone. Like, again, he should have been down. This is a quarterback. This is not like the running back. I mean, he's a very good rushing quarterback up there at Wazoo, but he should have been down at the 15, 20. Like, it was, and honestly, maybe even earlier. Like,
there were some missed tackles early in the play.
Yeah,
too.
there were some missed tackles.
It started
early in the play.
on Texas Tech, or it started inside of Washington State territory, and it was over 60-yard touchdown.
So they're not a good defense really anywhere.
They're 107th against the run, 4.7 yards per carry they're giving up, 123rd in total defense.
Not very good.
Not very good. But again, like you guys said, 9th ranked total offense, 45th, ranked rushing offense, and funnily enough, 4th ranked passing offense.
Yeah.
So ASU, we talked about the depth. The passing offense is really good for Texas Tech. Can that secondary withstand, probably a very good balanced rushing and play action, a lot of motion on this offense? Can that secondary of ASU withstand what Texas Tech is going to throw at them?
And creative. This will kind of get us to our next point. They will put Jalen Conyers,
Who
we saw do this at
the Jalen Conyers that was here last year?
Yes, who we saw at Arizona State the past few years. They will put him in the backfield as the quarterback sometimes.
He got stuffed on a 4th and 1 against Wazoo.
He did, but he also has had a very good year receiving the ball. He's got 2 touchdowns already. Did not score a receiving touchdown last season.
3 rushes and 12 yards for Jalen Conyers on the ground this season, but 11 catches, 105 yards, 2 touchdowns. He's a threat. Josh Kelly is also a threat on their receiving core. He's got 21 receptions. And then you also brought up Taj Brooks, and he's really good, a very good running back. Didn't play against Wazoo. He's still got 44 carries in 2 games this season, averaging 6 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns, 262 yards. It's good. I think we're going to see a lot of running in this game, but Texas Tech really likes to throw the ball, so that's why I'm confused, like what their game plan is going to be going into this game.
So they love to get Taj Brooks going early, and that really sets up their play action.
Yeah.
All 4 of their passing touchdowns scored against North Texas were out of play action.
Yes, I
saw
saw
that. And
that.
if you watch in practice this week, almost everything that the ASU scout team for the offensive side has been doing is playing out of play action and looking for deep shots so that the ASU defense is ready for those looks on Saturday. And I think that if you can manage Taj Brooks in the first quarter, then suddenly he's not as much of a threat in the pass game, as much of a threat in the pass protection game, because he is just absolutely mauling dudes in pass protection. The Tech offensive coordinator called him the best pass protecting back he's ever been around, and it's very clear to see on the tape why that is. I mean, just decleating guys. And so that's really going to be a factor. Brian Ward told me today that it's not really something that you change your game plan for when a guy is that good in pass protection. It's just something that they manage, and they're going to want to get a lot of like speed rush looks against him because of that.
Damon, are you saying Tech just to get under my skin here?
Jesse, there are other Techs other than Virginia Tech.
So I grew up 45 minutes away from Virginia
Here we
Tech.
go.
So to me, Tech
I covered a team called Montana Tech. Can I call them Tech?
No. On this podcast, there's only one Tech, and that's Virginia Tech, because I grew up 45 minutes away from Virginia Tech.
And the Techs Bobby Hurley gets called for.
It's a good one.
Too.
It's a good one.
That
yeah.
one was that's
very
pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Shout out Bobby. Yeah, no, but we talked about it. ASU can totally exploit this defense. Like, I think if they decide to drop 8, they can run. If they decide to stack the box, Levitt showed last week that he can throw the ball. Now, let's see what type of team that this Texas Tech team is in terms of their secondary. But I was just about to say they're very not good. They're not very good at tackling guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought this was going to be a loss earlier in the season. I thought about it some more, and I've watched the tape. Texas Tech, I think they have a chance to finish at the bottom of this conference. I don't think they're very good on defense, and that's a concern. But again, remember back in the day, and I guess you can still say, everyone looked at the Big 12 as the Big 12 doesn't play defense. Everybody looked at the Big 12 as they're going to have high-powered, high-scoring games. Texas Tech has scored 50-plus points in 2 games this season. That's
against North Texas and Abilene Christian, FYI.
And they gave up 51 to Abilene Christian.
Yes.
So is there concern that this might turn into a shootout, Damon?
So if we're breaking it down as far as like the ASU offense versus the Texas Tech defense, I think we can feel comfortable saying that that's a win for ASU. The ASU offense against the Texas Tech defense.
I think there's still some unknown in the passing game, but yes, I think we can say that because Texas Tech is just so poor at tackling.
Yeah, it's where Texas Tech on offense against ASU's defense that I think this game is going to be decided. I think if ASU can pull a little Abilene Christian and put up a 50 burger, that they put themselves in a really good situation, because they held Mississippi State, another high-powered offense, regardless of the team as a whole. That's a high-powered offense. They held Mississippi State to 23 points. I think if you can put up 50 on Texas Tech, then you're putting yourselves in good position.
Damon, you got the injury report today.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Martin news is the one that really hurts the most. But we got, a few, guys that are questionable to play. We don't know if they're going to play or not. Prince Dorba tied for team lead in sacks in 2023. Jordan Cook, linebacker, who will get Crook, who will get heavy reps and broke down team huddle post-practice Tuesday. He's a transfer from Arkansas. Sean Naha, right?
I think Nah.
He's offensive lineman, one of the youngest on the Tillman Leadership Council. They're all expected to make their debuts this week.
Yeah, and then so those three, I talked to Prince Dorba as well. He's excited to play in Texas. He's from Texas. Looking more toward the Big 12 title game in his hometown of Dallas, though, is the one that he's really hoping to get to. As far as the questionable guys you mentioned, the running backs, DeCarlos Brooks and Raleek Brown, are both questionable. I'd say if one is more likely to play than the other, it's probably DeCarlos Brooks. And then, as far as other things, putting the Cole Martin news aside, I think it's a pretty good week for ASU getting some guys back.
Yeah, it should be good to have those guys back. You want a pass rush against this type of offense, and
they get the ball out quick. That's something I did notice, though.
To get another guy back to rush the passer is good.
Mm-hmm. Anything else from ASU, Texas Tech that we want to get to before we get to all around Sun Devil Athletics, and then we get to the predictions, guys? Anything that you noticed at practice this week, Damon?
Not that I haven't already brought up.
We didn't bring up Sam Levitt very much. Did you have something, any Sam Levitt things that you've seen this week? That
he's been about 50-50 on deep balls this week.
Okay, we're okay with that.
People love to hear about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think looking for him to do better against the noise. They've been practicing in the noise a lot, of course, this week.
It's going to be a little bit louder in a bigger stadium against Texas Tech.
Yeah,
correct.
Leaf Fautanu thinks that they've worked out some kinks as far as communication that were not so good last week. He thinks that they'll be better off this week.
And I did want to add that if you haven't seen it, go search for what Kenny had to say about Jalen Conyers, because I feel like this is the way that coaches should be these days in the transfer portal. Jalen Conyers wanted to be closer to home. It's pretty obvious. And Kenny had so many nice things to say about Jalen Conyers. There wasn't any animosity. There wasn't like, oh, you quit on the program, all this stuff that I feel like is noise these days around college athletics. He was just genuinely happy to see the success that Jalen is having at Texas Tech, although he did say that he hopes that he does not have a good game this week.
Yeah. That clip is on my Twitter Monday night, by the way, for anyone looking for that.
Yes.
At I am Damon Allred.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
I am Damon Allred.
I said at I am Damon Allred.
No, he is.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's on first, Jeremy?
Yeah, what's on second? Also, real quick before we get to all around Sun Devil Athletics, ASU has the extra day of rest here.
Extra 2 days.
Extra 2 days of rest.
Mm-hmm.
Does that play in, is there a factor there? But, I mean, Texas Tech did get their starters out in the second half.
We've heard a lot of guys say this week that their bodies have been feeling the best that they've felt at, certain practice points. So I think everyone's feeling pretty good
I'm sure
physically.
Cam Scadaboo appreciated it.
Oh, he did. He said it was the best he's felt on a Tuesday practice.
That's perfect. That's all I need to hear. Sun Devil Volleyball, tough loss to Nebraska. They were in every...
It was so good.
No, but they were in every single set there, right? They lost, they lost in straight sets, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, they lost in straight sets. I
Some
watched...
self-inflicted errors, service errors, things like that.
It was on Friday. I watched the match, and, a lot of Sun Devil fans there, actually. Mm-hmm. Shout out to the people that traveled, as well as Graham Rossini, who was there in attendance. ASU's still 8-1. Losing to Nebraska, number 5 team in the country, I don't care. They stuck with Nebraska, and that's all that matters.
Nebraska is perhaps the premier volleyball school in the country. They sold out their football stadium last year for a volleyball match. I believe that's Nebraska's football stadium holds around 70, 80,000, something like that. I mean, it's Nebraska football. We all know about that. But yeah, it's like it's the premier program probably in the country. And ASU, yes, they got swept, but the largest margin of victory for Nebraska was in the third set by 6, I guess, games or points. And so, yeah, it's a pretty good, I feel like, gauge of where the program is as far as just like, okay, they can hang with a top team, and they're not like a second tier program at this point.
They got Prairie View A&M. That's Thursday, early start, 11 a.m. This is a DFA classic tournament, whatever you want to call it, at DFA. Webb Burbridge Classic at Desert Financial Arena. That starts on Thursday against Prairie View A&M. Easy for me to say. 11 a.m. start. Friday they have Memphis. Jesse, you're planning on going? I'm
planning to be there. Hopefully, I'm there. Like 99% chance I'll be there. I'll say.
Okay, and then on Saturday at 12 noon, around the same time that ASU football will be playing, they play against Montana State and the Cats.
Correct.
Yes, from Bozeman.
Cats.
From Bozeman, yes.
Yeah.
Kellen knows about the Cats.
Yeah.
His family went there.
Kellen Olson, our own Suns reporter.
Great so go out. Hey, if you have time the next couple days, and if you can watch a little bit of the match on Saturday. You can watch the football game on your phone if you go to the match on Saturday as well. Yeah.
Or listen to it in the Arizona Sports app.
Correct.
Put some AirPods in or whatever you got as far as headphones.
Support the volleyball team. They deserve it.
Exactly.
They are possibly the best thing going right now at Arizona State.
Correct.
In terms of teams that play at the big arenas, I would say.
Correct.
Obviously, the triathlon team is pretty special.
And swimming.
And swimming.
The dynasty.
Sun Devil Soccer, they suffered their first loss last Thursday to BYU, a 1-0 loss. Jesse loves it when I say nil.
I do too.
They received 3 votes in the coaches poll prior to that, so we'll see if they continue to receive votes or not. Fingers crossed.
Kind of disappointing that they went into their Big 12 opener and didn't score and lost. So
they're still a good team. I from what I've seen this year, the highlights and just the excitement around this soccer program, I'm very intrigued to see what they can do the rest of the Big 12 schedule. They got to get right game tomorrow. Ready? Houston. Big 12. Excitement. Got to win that one.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree.
All games for both volleyball and soccer are very conveniently on ESPN Plus. Thank you. It's
so nice.
That's one of the pluses, no pun intended, from getting away from the Pac-12.
Yeah, you just pay a little subscription fee.
And you get all the ASU sports.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you don't have to have a cable package that has the Pac-12 network.
And then cross country faces UC Davis in California on Saturday. Good luck to the cross country team. Before we go, guys, I want to just talk about the Pac-6 six-pack, Pac-2 coming together. Some Mountain West teams going to the six-pack.
Yeah.
You like that I'm calling it the six-pack?
I love it.
Yeah.
But it's the 8-pack.
You think that they're going to get 2 more? Or
They have 8,
to.
Right? They have
Yeah.
8 right now because they added 6.
No, they added 4.
They added 4?
Yes.
So currently,
They need to add
So
2 more.
UNLV and Nevada are the next 2 I've heard.
I'm hearing Memphis.
I'm hearing Sacramento State.
There's a lot of different reports.
I did
Speaking
hear
of
Sac State this
I heard
morning as
Sac
well.
State and UC Davis possibly.
Yeah.
UC Davis, shout out that they're running against ASU on Saturday.
Yes, that's what I was. This
Saw
is
a
pretty
great report earlier in the week about this where every conference is talking to every school about realignment at all times.
It's basically what is happening. Why can't they just get Cal and Stanford back?
There's some
ACC
reason that you
legacy schools.
Legacy.
there's some reason that they can't rejoin.
Are you talking about contracts? Because they can totally breach contract. You think Stanford
Florida,
doesn't?
Florida State's been trying to do that in the ACC
But
for
you
a
think
while.
Stanford doesn't have the money?
You never know. They don't really make they don't really sell tickets for anything except for women's basketball. So That's about it.
And when Andrew Luck was there.
Yeah, but that was, what, a decade ago? So, yeah, I don't know if Stanford's got the kind of money or the desire to do such a thing. Here's my opinion. Sacramento State and UC Davis would be like horrible additions, honestly, because you need, right now, as it is, borderline Power 5 conference. If they add Nevada and UNLV, or if they add
ranked UNLV.
Yeah, if they add a Memphis in there, like those schools, Memphis makes no sense, but whatever. Those schools are better like athletic programs. And so they would again be borderline Power 5 conferences, adding FCS programs, and you're basically just a new version of the Mountain West.
Yeah, and then there were other talks about, different FCS schools joining the Mountain West, and then possibly, since New Mexico State is not a part of the Mountain West, along with New Mexico, they're split up. It would be the obvious choice for New Mexico State to join the Mountain West.
And I think, and again, we because regions don't matter anymore, maybe you add kind of the Montana, Eastern Washington, Montana State, North Dakota State, maybe.
North Dakota State ain't leaving the FCS.
I think I've heard that they might be. South Dakota State, too.
I mean, they're just so successful in that space.
Appalachian State was, too, and they left and went to the Sun Belt. So
yeah,
it's a weird time.
We'll just have to continue.
At some point, there's just going to be one big conference, and
the
there's going to be divisions.
Yeah, the NCAA.
Yeah, maybe. Or the whatever is not the
We're
NCAA.
going to have D3 schools playing against D1 schools.
Which we kind of have this year with ASU men's hoops. They're playing St. Thomas, which used to be a D3 school. Now they're a D1 school.
It's going to be very interesting. The new landscape of the NCAA.
The
ever-changing landscape. Yeah. That's going to do it for this edition.
We didn't make our picks.
Oh, my goodness. What am I doing? Jesse, start us off.
I think that Texas Tech's offense is really good. I think their defense is terrible. I do think this will turn into a bit of a shootout. I'm going to go ASU wins 38-34.
54-37
ASU. I got 42-35 ASU. And this is the first time all three of us have picked the same.
Yeah.
And I'm scared.
Yeah, I got
clean
ASU,
sweep.
I got ASU going into the first bye week 4-0. I think that they
ranked.
Yeah, I think that they will get ranked.
Could big noon kickoff be here for the Kansas game?
I don't know.
9 a.m. start?
That would be fun.
I would hope that. Hopefully, hey Fox, just I'm going to talk to you for a little bit here. I don't get that many opportunities to sleep in. So if you do not want to do a 9 a.m. Arizona time kickoff, I would be much appreciated. You can bring the big noon.
What?
You can bring the big noon kickoff crew here. I'm fine with that. That's fine. But maybe do the game at a 1:30 start. That would be much better for me personally. That's
gotta
just
make sure
a
to put some
me
sunscreen
thing.
on.
I'm just making this totally about me.
This is a horrendous take.
I hope Fox listens to you, Jesse.
I really hope they do too. So yes, Fox, please listen to me.
That's going to do it for this edition of State of the Sun Devils. Thank you so much for listening and watching. You can find almost every single episode of State of the Sun Devils on the Arizona Sports YouTube channel. Just search the Arizona Sports. Just search Arizona Sports in YouTube, and you can find us there. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts as well, on the Arizona Sports app, arizonasports.com. Damon's articles are all on arizonasports.com. You can go there as well. Alex Weiner wrote up a Cole Martin out for the season story. You can see what this means for Arizona State moving forward. If we couldn't articulate it well enough for you, you can go there as well. And if you want to follow us on all forms of social media, we are at AZ Sports Devils, including Threads, Jesse.
We have Threads.
Yes, we do. Anyway, thank you so much for listening and watching. We're going to see you on Saturday. For Jesse Morrison, Damon Allred, I'm Jeremy Schnell. We'll talk to you later.
Please no 9 a.m.